All right, hey folks, it's been a minute or two since my last recording, but it has been an exciting time, honestly. I've been knee deep in a whole lot of different things, and I wanted to talk about what those things are actually this time. I'm actually just going to do a quick little overview of what I have been up to the last couple months since my last recording, where I went deep on the Apex scripting. This is kind of a strategy I've been taking lately, is kind of going wide and then on a couple things going deep. I've been continuing that on a few items. The biggest one, honestly, that I think has impacted my productivity on a daily basis that we have recently done is switched our source control software. So, I was starting out with what I had seen all these studios have been leaning on Perforce. And I always thought that was interesting because, it takes me back to the late 90s when, we were using a central server for version control for source. And it was because of all the binaries and being able to control, the checkout of the binaries, because you can't really deal with merge conflicts with a binary when you're talking about binaries, regardless of image, projects, whatever it may be. Binaries in general is a real pain. But I found myself just hating that whole, got to check it out before I can do anything with it. And then I got to wait for the server to wake up and connect, and all that stuff was just killing me. And so finally, we just basically bit the bullet and figured out a different solution that I could not be more happy with, actually. And what we did was swap out Perforce for Gitea. And on top of running our own Gitea server on our Synology drive, and then I'm backing up with a Synology drive in LA, we've leaned on Git LFS for the binary workflow support. And so far, it's been such a breath of fresh air. My daily ability to just do things has just gone through the roof. Version control is now no longer, front and center in my workflow. It's something that I think about after I'm done, and I will do a commit and do an add, and then do a commit and then push every once in a while. But it's one of those things where it's not in my face and it's not in my way. Now, I've got a small studio here, so I don't have to really necessarily worry about the, checking things out and worrying about merge conflicts on binaries, since I'm really the only human making those things. But I'm telling you, that workflow of that local check-in and commit and then push when ready has just been fantastic. I'll put some links in the description here. If you haven't heard of Gitea, it's just been an absolute blessing. It's just been fantastic. I'm running a private Gitea server. It's very much like a GitHub-like experience, except it's all private on my own network, etc. That's been huge, huge, huge. Now, some other things that I've been going deep on beyond that is I figured out a workflow that I'm pretty excited about when we start talking about going from high poly models to low poly. And what I was doing before was sculpting and, say, ZBrush, coming up with a high poly sculpt, and then retopologizing that, baking the maps that I needed, et cetera, et cetera. Well, I'm going to go into significant detail in a future video here that shows basically a workflow where I just focus, for the most part, focus on high poly sculpting, and then have an automated kind of mechanism through Houdini to auto generate the low polys, so that I can iterate quickly and not have to worry about retopology. Now, it's not 100%. There are definitely times where I have to do retopology, especially for like facial animation and rigging and things of that nature. But a lot of the grunt work in terms of, that retopology, especially for assets that are fairly static, I don't have to think about anymore. And I'll go into detail and show you that workflow here in the next couple days, because I've got it pretty much nailed down and feeling pretty good about it. Now, time will tell if it holds up, but it's part of the nature of the beast at this point. Another major thing that I've been doing is I have, since I've been moving, I'm a big Blender user, but I've been moving more of my stuff from Blender to Houdini of late to get all the automation and procedural generation workflows nailed down that Houdini just supports in a better way. And so I've been moving a lot of assets that I had in Blender over to Houdini. And I've got a lot of those assets, assets that I've gotten from Kitbash 3D to just random assets that I've pulled in over the years as I've been thinking about this project. And that has pushed me into another area of Houdini that I hadn't anticipated, which is the whole task operator mechanisms in Houdini, TOPS. And through that mechanism, it took me a little time to figure this stuff out, as is everything in Houdini, is there's a learning curve. But man, once you get through that, the automation I now have is super cool, because now I can just point at a directory, pull in the FBX, do some auto assigning of the materials, and boom, I've got an asset database that's up and ready to roll. And as part of that, it pushed me into learning and jumping into the whole USD workflows supported by Houdini in their Solaris mechanism. And USD, if you're not familiar, is a Pixar-driven kind of open source universal scene descriptor is the official name of that. And I've been really exploring that. It looks really promising. I've got a lot more learning to do. That's another one of these things that is clearly super powerful. And I can see it really being a huge benefit for some larger organizations that need to figure out how to layer their approach and share files without just passing large projects around. But it's a significant learning curve all on its own. The number of concepts and procedures and different ways of the process in which you use it, because it's more than just an SDK. This thing is like a platform all by itself. And Houdini supports it in a very fundamental way. And I've been easing my approach into that. So I'm going to show you kind of what I've been learning on that front as well. And then I've been doing a bunch of stuff with Copernicus to figure out how to do material blending through interactive painting, driving Copernicus networks back into the SOPS networks that then can drive the materials that I need to ultimately put on environments and things of that nature. That's been surprisingly easy path forward. And then last thing that I've been spending a lot of time with is scattering technologies. So the ability to throw instances around, control those through noise or randomization, and be able to drive those instances not only inside Houdini and the LOPS networks and drive USD scenes, but now what does it look like to take that to Unreal? And that's what I've been doing in a significant manner. So all of that said, the last couple of months have been knee deep in all of those major areas. And I will show some videos that go into more detail on that. But I just felt it was such a long time since I put out a video. I figured I'd get this overview video of those approaches, and then I'll go deep in the next couple days. All right, with that, I hope things are going well for you. Talk soon. Thanks a lot.